What's up, friend? Hector here with 𝗺𝗏𝑆ec.com with this week's Movement Monday for the week. We're going to be opening up a whole new series over the next couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about T-spine mobility, also known as thoracic mobility, just condensed down to T-spine mobility. Overhead mobility is an important piece, especially if you're lifting kettlebell. So a huge part of kettlebell training is there's a lot of overhead movements. Obviously you've got your press, you've got snatches, you've got push presses, you've got jerks. So there's a lot of overhead movements, you know, aside from the swing and the clean. So the thoracic has three actions to it. So you should be able to flex, extend, and rotate through that thoracic portion of your spine. And if any one of those three actions are missing, you can start to get tight in the shoulders. That will also restrict your overhead movements. And so if we lack mobility in the thoracic region, okay, our body will look for mobility somewhere else, and more than likely that will be your lower back, okay? So I actually covered this, I think, in the Improving Your Press series, where we talked about, we used the foam roller, we used the ball to that overhead stretch, get that lat stretch in. But today we're going to be focusing on specifically mobilizing that thoracic piece, and we're going to be breaking it down into rotation, flexion, and extension. So today we're going to be kicking off with an exercise called thread the needle. This is a very common posture or exercise or movement or what have you in yoga. And we use it a lot in the kettlebell community, particularly in in the Strong First certifications. We talk a lot about threading the needle, and we use that in half kneeling windmill positions. And we're going to kind of focus on that today. But one thing that we're going to add is something that I learned from Greg Cook's FMS system, is called the rib grab, or the rib pull, or rib grab, you know, however you want to call some of these movements. But what we're going to do is we're going to start here in this half kneeling windmill position. So you'll be like in a 90-degree angle. So imagine like you just kind of swept from that low sweep and you're sweeping here. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be mobilizing the thoracic piece here from the half kneeling windmill. So here's another reason why get-ups are so effective and they're so good for your body, is it challenges you in that thoracic region pretty much throughout the whole entire series of movements. So if we're lacking rotation in this thoracic region, okay, this upper back and part of the chest here, if we're lacking rotation there, we'll actually, like I said, our body will seek mobility somewhere else, and that mobility will be in my shoulder. So here's what I mean. Let's say we just did a get up, right, and we swept to this position right here. If I lack the ability to rotate here, so if I lack this rotation ability here, it's going to be very challenging to maintain this alignment from my top hand to my down hand. And what will happen is, if I'm limited here, this is what will happen. So let's say I can't rotate here and I can't show you my chest. If I can't show you my chest, maybe I'm restricted to right here. This is my overhead movement. This is as far as I can pick up my hand, basically. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have to give up and kind of like shrug my shoulder. That way I can reach my arm further back behind me. So if we're restricted here, what would be here ends up being right about here. And then in order to get the hand vertical, you have to kind of give up your shoulder and kind of do this movement here. You see that? And that's the equivalent of walking around like this, when we want this shoulder connected and our hands straight out. So what we're going to do is, from this half kneeling windmill, we're going to apply a rib grab, and we're going to pull from the ribs and kind of open up that thoracic region, and we're going to probably do anywhere from 3 to 5 repetitions. You're going to do this. This is all purely body weight. This would also be a good prep if you're going to be going into actual get-ups. But this is going to have a huge carryover to overhead movements, particularly kettlebell snatching. Obviously pressing, right? Because we want to be able to extend through the thoracic region, okay? And when I say extend, I'm not talking about giving up your ribs and exposing your midsection here, right? But we should be able to keep our abs down, right? But still be able to extend through the chest. So we want to be able to maintain this nice overhead lockout, right? Arm is fully locked out, shoulder stays connected, and bicep is lined up with or slightly behind the ear. So from here, we're going to go through this rib grab, okay? So, and thread the needle. So what you're going to do is you're going to inhale, you're going to open the chest here, you're going to inhale here, you're going to exhale, and you're going to reach through, and you're going to thread, your hand is the needle, you're going to thread this needle through here. So now this is going to be the flexion of your spine. So we should be able to flex and reach through like you're pointing to something back behind you here. Okay, so I'm getting this flexion piece of my thoracic. So I'm reaching here, shoulder stays connected. I don't round, all right? I don't give up my shoulder. I just reach through here and exhale as I reach through. Now, as I inhale and I come up, this hand that was threading the needle is going to grab my ribs right here on this side. Okay, I'm going to grab my rib cage here, and I'm going to pull and rotate my rib cage open, and then reach back overhead. Inhale, exhale. Now I'm going into that flexion piece of my thoracic. Inhale. As I'm coming up and I'm rotating, I pull and I open this thoracic region. You're going to feel a nice stretch through this whole upper back and through the midsection. Hand up. And you're going to go through this little snap, crackle, and pop for me right there. You're going to do this on both sides. And I'm going to do my side, like I say, that way you're not walking around in circles. So you'll be here in this half kneeling windmill. Inhale. Okay, so right now I'm a little limited. I can feel some restriction here. So what I'll do is inhale, exhale, open my thoracic region, and that's much better. Thread the needle through. Inhale. And I'm just working this rotation piece, and it's kind of hitting all three. I'm slightly extending, I'm rotating as I open, and then as I come back through and I thread the needle, I'm working this flexion and slight rotation as I'm coming through. So you're getting all three actions of that thoracic part of the spine. So it's really, really good. That's going to have a huge carryover into your snatching, also into your pressing. So, like I've said before, strength and mobility are never at odds. They're not mutually exclusive, right? So you can't access your strength without mobility. If I can't get this arm vertical, I'm not going to be as efficient in my snatching, right? But I also need to use my strength to be able to actively move this arm overhead and back through, right? So I've got to use that strength as I'm going through this mobility work, okay? So you've got to have both, all right? So that's all I got for you this week. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, leave something in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date with this whole Movement Monday series. And that's all I got. Have a great week. And again, Hector at StrongAsHeck.com with this week's Movement Monday for the week.